Viewpoints On episode 35. We've had an interesting week, to say the least.
We're exhausted. We've literally just gotten over the Comic-Con haze.
Yeah, it took a while. Lots of aspirin.
Yeah, if any of you were there, you know what we're talking about. Perhaps you watched it on TV. My mom said she was uncomfortable just watching it on television. So, you know.
Yeah.
So let's just get right into it.
Okay.
All right, Comic-Con, bests and worsts.
Okay.
You can start.
Okay, so didn't see a lot of panels. There's a lot of lines. They were out of control.
Yeah.
There's no line control at all. Like, I think they could have counted and said, like, okay, we have, there's no way you're getting in this panel, so get out of line here. But they were just letting people line up for hours knowing there's no chance in heck.
Well, they can't really keep control because people go in and stay in. They don't know who leaves and who's coming back. So there's that. But anyways,
okay, so yeah.
Of what you did see.
I got to interview the cast of Psych, which I thought was my favorite moment of the whole weekend.
I know that's your favorite show, so.
Yeah, this is my favorite show, but it was just, getting to talk to them and, talking about the show and getting a little, background of the show and finding out how well they work together. That was really great. Mm-hmm. Talked to Bruce Campbell from Burn Notice. I got breaking news scoop that I got and that the LA Times apparently stole from me.
How dare they?
Because a day later you see the LA Times story and it's sources within the network say blah blah blah. I'm like, you guys. So they completely ripped that off from me. You can read that in the blog. So that was good. The Warner Brothers panel that Karina and I went to, got to see Where the Wild Things Are, Nightmare on Elm Street, Sherlock Holmes, The Box, The Book of Eli, and Jonah Hex. That was all cool, and all the stars came out, so that was pretty cool. So I think those are my top.
Yeah. For me, it had to be Iron Man 2. Just seeing that Iron Man 2 footage. I went into that room, into Hall H I got in around 12:30. And Iron Man 2 wasn't until 4 o'clock, so I worked for it. And I had to sit through the Zombieland panel, which anybody who knows me, that was rough. But, so I really wanted to see that Iron Man 2 footage, but it was so worth it because it was just fantastic. And, Nick Fury's back and everybody's back who you want to see. Mickey Rourke as Whiplash looked great, but then they finish it off with War Machine, and seriously, everybody in the place just went crazy with those shots of him in the suit and the guns are fired. It was just awesome. So I can tell you, based on the couple minutes I saw, it looks like it's going to be just as good, possibly better than the first one. So.
Yeah.
Also, while you were interviewing the stars of Burn Notice and Psych, I was inside watching their panels, and Bruce Campbell, to quote Jay Carnes, who's also on Burn Notice, Bruce Campbell at Comic-Con is like a rock star working the crowd. He's so fantastic. When they have him back next year, they just need to let him have his own Bruce Campbell panel. Just the Q&A of Bruce Campbell answering people's questions, and it would be fantastic. But the Burn Notice panel was great. The Psych panel was hilarious. Everybody in the crowd chanting Magic Head at Dule Hill. Dule Hill got up and tap danced at one point. It was just so much fun. Those were two of my best. And of course, the Doctor Who and Torchwood panels on Sunday, because those are two of my favorite shows. And we got to see the first scenes from David Tennant's last episode as the Doctor. So that was before anybody else. We've seen it before they've seen it in Britain. So that was very exciting. And David Tennant was there, and it was his first time. So that was all exciting stuff.
What about on the show floor? There's a lot to see on the show floor. Mm-hmm. We took a lot of pictures of it. You can see those on the blog. But what do you think was the best booth at Comic-Con?
Best
design, the way they designed it, what they had to give away, what they...
Well, everybody always talks about the Warner Brothers booth because they give away the big bags every day. They give away these huge bags when the floor opens and everybody gets them. And so, first day the big deal was the Harry Potter bags, and that was the only time they were giving those away. and we were lucky enough to get a couple of those. But
not for myself.
But as
It was for
far
a favor, trust me.
as far as the like design of their booth goes, it didn't. It wasn't very.
It left a lot to be desired.
I'd have to say the Fox booth was pretty cool, and then also you know, some of the not the network booths, but some of the comics booths were cool, and of course the Star Wars. They call it the Star Wars Pavilion. It's always really awesome because they show, you know, all kinds of great Star Wars stuff on the screen, and they have all the statues up there, and they have costumes. So they always make a big presence for me, it's the Star Wars booth I thought was the best.
I agree with you on the Warner Brothers panel. I think the problem with the Warner Brothers panel was, I mean, the booth was they had so many people lining up for so many different things. Like they had bags over here, they had like posters over here, that you couldn't see the setups they had. Like you couldn't get to the Lego Rock Band if you're, you know, I didn't even know where the line started. You couldn't even like get there because everyone was in line around it, and they had this really cool where the Wild Things are set up.
Yeah.
Couldn't even get to that because the lines are just so crazy. The security guards in front of it, and I'm like, what's the point in having it there if you're just going to have it all, you know, bunched up? Like at least Paramount, what they did with their lines, they had them line up against the back wall. And they would go have their people come and get like 3 people and bring them to the line.
Yeah, bring a few at a time. So the people could get through and see their booth. Because they had some great stuff at the Paramount booth. They had the captain's chair that you could sit in. They were giving away giant foam Spock fingers. So, yeah, I think you're right. Next year, Warner Brothers needs to take a cue from Paramount and maybe have their line, you know, go. And I noticed a lot of the booths were doing that, where they would have the line be against the wall or on the side and bring a few people over.
Adult Swim did that too.
So that was probably the best way to go, but I guess Warner Brothers didn't get that memo. Just a little note about the crowds and the lines of people. Yeah, it was a lot more people this year than, you know, in past years. It sold out so quick. And it seems like they're letting more people in. And I'm just like, look, they just need to sell fewer tickets. I know. Everybody wants to get into Comic-Con. Give out fewer tickets, because it gets to a point where there's so many people, it's sort of unenjoyable.
Yeah, it is.
You know, I couldn't get into a room I wanted to one day because I was just waiting in line for an hour. And I was like, I didn't come all this way just to wait in line. So I went to my plan B, which was still loads of fun, you know, but the other thing is they had a lot more crowd control, and they were really stricter with where people could go this year, and I felt like that sort of contributed to some of the madness.
A little, yeah.
Because in previous years, when they would just have people, they would just let the convention center would open at like 7, and people would just go in, they'd go upstairs, they'd get in whatever line they want to get in. It's sort of, you know, cut down on the amount of people all rushing the exhibit hall, but you know, this year they took everybody in the exhibit hall one way. You had to go upstairs and then come back downstairs. And then, so that meant there were even more people upstairs. And you're just trying to get in line for something. And it just, you know, so I thought the rules sort of contributed to the madness.
I could see the point where they were trying to do that. They were trying to keep everyone, you know, but it was a little too much. Another booth I liked was the DC Comics booth. I thought it was designed well that you could walk through while people were in line for stuff.
Right.
Because it was weird. It was like, it wasn't like a booth per se. It was more like sections.
Yeah.
In the open where they could have lines but still have people walk around. And I thought DC did a great job of promoting Green Lantern.
Well, that was their big deal.
Yeah, more than Marvel did. Marvel was sort of just a booth for the Iron Man movie.
Yeah, Marvel, because I guess they don't really have anything big to promote at this moment.
Dark Reign, you think they would have their...
I suppose they don't feel like it's good enough to give the big push to, but, you know, obviously, like you said, DC has the Green Lantern movie that's just out, so they were really giving that a big push. I thought you're right, the way that you could go in and see stuff, you know, and not be, like, stuck in a line was kind of cool.